Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Amateur Otaku channel. And we're going to be talking about some Code Geass today. A little bit of a throwback, but also, kind of getting back into cultural zeitgeist with the new show. But that's not what we're going to be talking about here today. And talking about the OG, since that actually hasn't been covered on the channel yet. But before we jump into our thoughts and maybe some theories, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Isaac. What's going on, Isaac?
It's going good. I'm just tired, as per usual. Dr. Pepper, I know that you don't sponsor us, but if you do, hit us up.
You know, that would be amazing. Isaac always talks about Dr. Pepper behind the scenes. So Dr. Pepper, if you need somebody, Isaac, he's your guy. He's your guy. He is a faithful Dr. Pepper drinker, that is for sure. Um, but yeah, I guess before we jump into things, is there anything that you've been reading or watching lately that you want to share with the people?
Well, the usual One Piece, Kaisen, all those kind of Spy Family. It's and finally I got the latest volume of the Persona 5 manga,
Mm,
and like I said to Brandon months ago, they have a lot more P5R territory. So if you haven't if you have played the vanilla and are interested in the game but haven't touched Royal, play Royal first because you would get spoiled otherwise, and it's a very significant part. You know what I'm talking about, Jamie, when I say they have arguably the best addition to Royal. It was
mhm.
Persona 5. They are starting to covering talking more about that. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I actually I didn't know that the manga was kind of cover some of the content in Royal. I thought it was gonna be vanilla Persona 5. So that's cool to hear that they're like adding more to it. Maybe adding some extra bits to the story even, who knows? But yeah, dope.
well, it's a manga that it takes forever to do the volume by volume. So
Yeah, that
uh,
is true. That's also like Persona, the original Persona came out like 7 years ago, something like that. It's been a long time, so that's I figured the manga would have been, uh, a little bit further along to not have royal content, so I guess we got lucky that, they're getting up on pace and they were able to include that content.
volume one was released on 10th of August, 2017.
Wow, that's been how many volumes are there? That's a lot.
12.
Hmm, interesting, interesting.
So,
Okay,
yeah, so yeah, they take a good while
yeah.
to cover everything.
Yeah, but that also means, they're putting in the attention to detail, which is nice. Or at least I would hope with that much time in between.
Yeah, and of that recording, there is only 3 chapters left of JJK, which is kind of surreal.
Dang. That is kind of wild. That's interesting. Hmm. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Well, we'll have to talk about that here on the channel.
I mean,
Um,
we are planning on having a goodbye stream for it, similar to I had with MHA. So
okay. Well, everybody be sure to tune in for that. Be there to give JJK a good send off. Yeah, as for me, I actually haven't been watching a whole lot as of late. It's been a very, very busy season of the year, and it's actually the first, I guess, in terms of just my life in general. This is like my first time working during, I guess, the latter portions of the year, like, actually working a real job, and so now I see just how, like, busy things can be and how fast t time can go by, so, um, I haven't watched a whole lot lately. I'm planning on catching up, doing a lot of catching up this weekend. But what I have been doing actually is I picked up a subscription to Shonen Jump and I started reading the Dandadan manga because if you didn't see it on the channel, I got to see a preview of the first episode of Dandadan in the English dub at Anime NYC, and it was really, really, really good. Obviously, since I picked up the manga. So now I'm on like I think I'm on like the 14th chapter or something. I gotten pretty far. I'm pretty sure I'm past where the like movie premiere will go. So I'm just excited to see it all animated and it just has the animation has such a great style, and Science Saru really did their thing with bringing the characters to life and the way that they animate them. So I'm excited to see all of that now. But yeah, Dandan's been my main slice for a little bit as far as anime goes, anime manga.
I might hate the Old Man Crybaby that they adapted. Not their adaptation, I just hate that story in general. But if it's one thing that adaptation showed is that they are the perfect animation studio for that show, with how intense and insane animation they are capable of.
You know, that's interesting you say that because I feel like everybody I've ever talked to says that they love Devilman Crybaby. I also didn't enjoy Devilman Crybaby's story. I agree with you that the art was really good, and that's honestly what kept me watching the show. Otherwise, I did not really enjoy the story. Um, wow, didn't know that.
Let me put it like this: it feels like a 13-year-old going through an emo phase and just, oh, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, because I'm so edgy. But that's my take on Devilman Crybaby, and it's still so funny that the mangaka for that show, was a manga, came to the conclusion that he wanted to be a mangaka because he started drawing it while he had a major cause of diarrhea that he thought he was gonna die from.
Oh wow,
No, I'm not joking.
that wow, that might be the most unique mangaka origin story. Yeah, I started
I'm,
drawing manga because I thought I was gonna die on the toilet. So, crazy. Wow. I mean, that's Isaac's fun fact of the day, y'all. In case you want to impress your anime friends. Speaking of fun things, I think let's just jump right into Code Geass. I'd like to start with you, Isaac, and just kind of I guess when was the first time that you watched Code Geass? Because I know for me, it's definitely it hasn't been recent, but I'm curious, were you there at the beginning or did you pick it up somewhere along the way?
I, I don't know when I watched it. I think it was like at the beginning, 20 the
It first came out in
2010, 2006.
2006.
I was
Okay.
like 4 or 5 years late.
Oh,
There's, but then again, I have seen so many shows that I can't recall when, how, where, why,
yep.
to an extent. But I do know that I enjoy it. It's a very good. I should put it. I would argue that it's a very good. No, we can go to that later on, but it's a show that, well, I'm always a sucker for personal rebellious stories, so it gripes my it caught my eye as soon as I heard of it.
Yeah, I definitely I watched it maybe 2015, 2016. So almost more than 10 years later, in some cases, almost 10 years later, just based off a recommendation, since so many people talked about loving it and it being super like interesting and intricate. And I feel like it definitely did not disappoint. What I didn't know is that the story kept going beyond just the main series with all the different movies, and now we have like a new iteration of the show that's currently airing. So it's definitely had a very long journey, longer than a lot of anime get, honestly.
Yeah, it has. I mean, there is and it's just fun fact. Do you know who is voicing Lelouch in the English dub?
Ichigo, it's Johnny on
Yeah,
Bosch.
and he have quite. I wouldn't call. I don't know if I would call it resurgent, but with Trigon returning, Bleach being a thing right now, and well, Code Geass semi returning, it's he kind of have some hard, good job with a good, some major returns, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. He's a anime OG, so I'm really glad that he's able to come back to some of these main character roles and perform in that way. He's a really awesome performer. I got to listen to him at Comic Con. He was like doing a panel, and somebody asked him if he could say like Bonkai. I'm not gonna even try to attempt to do it. But he did it, and it was like, I'm not even that deep into Bleach, and I literally got chills. I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, that was incredible, so I'm happy that he's able to get back on the main stage.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Code Geass, I just found out after searching for some history. Apparently, after this is an anime that got a manga adaptation afterwards, and it was
Mm.
adapted by Kodakawa Shoten into 5 separate manga adaptations, each containing an alternative storyline. The first 4 of the manga series has been licensed for an English language release in North America by Bandai Entertainment.
Hmm, that's interesting. I probably never would have guessed that it was a anime original at the time and then became a manga. That's cool.
And there is also a lot of it is well known, or at least if you look from how should I put it? If you're aware of productions, there was a lot of production issues with the show that it to the point that it was close to never being made because of stuff like budget issue, costs not getting along, yada yada yada.
Mm.
So
Well, wish that could have stayed in the past, but we still have production issues
yeah,
today, so well, that's crazy though. I mean, especially to see how far Code Geass has come and just how much as content has come out of it as well, for it to have been stopped short in like 2007 or 2008 or something. That would have been like the biggest mistake of some executives' life. Cool. All right. I guess I don't know how we want to break this down. If we want to, I guess, just talk about how we felt about it, or if you want to take it, I guess, arc by arc. What do you want to do, Isaac, as far as discussing the original series, Code Geass?
I think we could do as a general idea because there is if we are taking it arc by arc, we will probably be here for a 2 to 3 hours long.
Hmm.
if I'm being completely honest, because this is, to an extent, one of, how should I put it? This is one of the shows that you can dissect piece by piece. It's, I wouldn't say it's, which, okay, I wear a One Piece. I know One Piece comes up a lot when I talk about the anime, but it might not be as insane with One Piece. This, that, what? But this is a series, even though it's not mass length, could just be okay. This bit can be contained by that. This can it compete by that, because there is a lot of how and why, or how you can fight against freedom, fight for freedom. What is the right way? Yeah, all those, yes, because you can see it. Yes, you know how the argument of you can win within. You need to use force to truly fight back because XYZ won't listen. And there is an their argument to an extent is there has been, or should, no, sorry, not has been, there is to an extent some interesting parts of it in the original, at least.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and it's funny you mention it. When I was had originally talked with you about talking about Code Geass, and you suggested, we should start the conversation by talking about the original. I went on to YouTube to see if there were any like recaps or commentary about Code Geass. And there's like videos that range from like 10 to 15 minutes to like hours long. And it seemed like there also just weren't that many videos in general. Actually, I was kind of surprised. So kind of listening to the breakdowns from some of these different creators was interesting to hear, I guess, what their perspective of how the story went too. Um, but yeah, we can talk about Code Geass as just like a general story and show, and I guess I don't know. I would kind of like to talk about it in terms of, I guess, for me personally, I was super surprised by Code Geass because I hadn't really seen a show like it outside of probably Death Note. But even then, I think the way that Lelouch goes about, like, being 10 steps ahead of his enemy and planning all these different things out, but also having that, like, softer side to him where he cares about his sister and cares about, like, bringing Japan back into, or they don't I don't think they actually call it Japan, but, oh, no, they did call it Japan. Bringing Japan kinda, like, making it, and I guess in, for lack of better terms, making Japan great again. Kind of, bringing that back to the forefront. Um, it was a really interesting story all around, and it definitely, I think the length of the entire series was kinda, like, shocking to me looking back because I think it's, like, almost 40 episodes or something. Like, it didn't feel like it was that long. Like, I think I binged most of the show the first time I saw it, so I don't know, I guess for you, had you seen a story that was kinda similar to Code Geass, or did it kinda stand out on its own?
That depends on when it comes to an anime. No, I have not. But or should I say, I didn't when I saw it. But a story in general, yes, I have. I would dare argue, because have you seen slash read We from or We for Vendetta?
I have
The
not.
Alan. It's about Britain having being a tyranny, and there's, long story short, is about a rebellion, someone doing a causing a rebellion against a tyrannic government, and he's doing he's managed to outsmart them, etc., etc. and I kind of got that feeling from the show as a whole. I mean, just be right back. I'm gonna check when the book,
Okay.
the movie came out in 2005.
Oh wow, so it was like just before Code Geass.
Yes, which is kind of fun. But the original came out in between 1982 and 1985. I'm.
Mm.
It's you probably have seen. Have you heard of the term "Remember the 5th of November"?
Yep, the V for Vendetta guy, I think he said it.
Yeah, it's that's where that comes from. But it, it's to some extent, I even dare argue that Lelouch reminds me of the main character in V for Vendetta, which I can't recall what they are called, what his name is, but it because he's working for being as mysterious as calculated, and he
Mm-hmm.
is a bit secretive to Natalie Portman's character, who you find that he wants to help, yada yada yada, but he doesn't open up for her, or they. I don't. I can't recall if they confirmed what. Let us go with we is. So,
Okay. Yeah,
but
that's actually, now that you say that, V for Vendetta does definitely have some of the same overtones as Code Geass. That's a good point. That's a good, I guess, kind of connection. If you've seen V for Vendetta and you enjoyed it, you might like Code Geass.
I mean, I'm not saying that it has it's obviously not a rip off of if you read it both, considering how different approach it is. But I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised if the Code Geass as a whole got some inspiration from it.
Mm.
If I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, even just thinking about like I guess wearing the helmet, or like the mask, you could also call it, and kind of keeping himself hidden, or Lelouch keeping himself hidden from everybody and acting as Zero. I think it's definitely reminiscent of V for Vendetta, whether it's intentional or not.
But what are your overall thoughts of the first season, or what should I say, first version of whatever we want to call it, since there is sequel slash alternative alternative versions and alternative timelines.
Yeah, it's definitely, I remember kind of being on the edge of my seat the whole season because, I really like stories where you have these really intellectual characters and they're kind of, either challenging themselves or they're being challenged by someone else who is either just as smart or is willing to get crafty enough to kind of beat them at their own game. That's something that's really fun for me. And, I guess kinda going back to my comparison of, like, Death Note and Code Geass, one thing that I didn't like about Death Note is the fact that it seemed like Light could never lose, and then he kinda just suddenly loses as if it's the story realizes, "Oh, he's won too many times, like, now he has to lose." Um, and I like that Code Geass, it didn't quite feel that way, like, it felt like everything that happened was well thought out enough to the point where even if Lelouch lost, it was a calculated loss in order for him to, like, gain something on the other end of things. The way that the first season ends, I believe, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen the first season, obviously you should watch Code Geass, it's really good. I believe it ends with, Lelouch kind of losing his, or he gets captured by Suzaku, and then I think He gets his memory wiped by the King of Britannia. So then jumping into the second season, he's kind of like re-remembering things, relearning that he has this power to like give one command kind of thing. And I also thought that that was an interesting little twist too. But just focusing on season one, I really like the way that they set up the story and how I think they did a good job of letting us, um, I guess, get to meet the cast as well. Like, I feel like a lot of stories struggle with having a big cast of characters just because it is hard to develop so many different characters at once and give them enough time. But I think that they did this really well with Lelouch kind of leading this double life, but also some of the other characters leading double lives. So he was able to kind of like bounce off of that and get to know two different sides of a person, even if it was a different situation. So it was just really a masterful show and interesting to think that I actually was talking to Didge and suggesting that he should check out Code Geass, and he was saying he heard that people, I think it was they didn't enjoy the ending, which I can respect. The ending is definitely interesting. But I feel like, especially starting out the show, it's super intriguing and definitely makes you wonder where things are going to go next. So I would can full heartedly recommend the first season. It was really fun.
Can highly recommend that also, because it's sort of like, and funny enough, if you really think about it, it's to an extent. I'm not gonna go there, but was gonna say it's kind of fitting in today's political climate, considering what's happening in Europe. But let's don't mention that elephant here.
I mean, we don't have to go too deep into it, but you know, people have eyes and they can see the connections. You can choose to ignore it if you want, but and the connections they're there, they're present. That's the other interesting part about this show too, and something that I think has become more of a question about just media in general within the past couple years, about kind of like using TV, movies, video games as escapism, and then people are like, I don't want politics in my games, or I don't want politics in my comics, not knowing that these things are inherently political to begin with. um
Hell, just look at the reason what the X-Men was even created in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's one thing I can respect about Code Geass as well, is that it doesn't shy away from the fact that it's making political commentary, but it's also like it's not trying to say like, "Oh, beware, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, like, these things can happen." It's just saying, given certain political situations, like these are how people are going to rebel. These are how people are going to like try to take their freedom back, take what they feel is their power back. And I think it's also important to kind of check out some of these stories sometimes because you know things are wild sometimes. Things are wild sometimes. So, I guess in terms of escapism, we don't live in a society, at least right now. We don't live in a society where like one country has taken over like another and has just completely erased or is trying to erase its culture and everything like that. Like that's a pretty popular, I guess, fictional scenario. But it's interesting to see how what I feel like what would be real reactions um, to that situation. Yeah, I don't know. I'm off on a tangent, but go ahead, Isaac.
No, no, I mean, I totally get you because this is hell to an extent. Oh, this is going to get so much shit, but I mean, it takes stories like this. I wouldn't even be surprised if it took some some no, I wouldn't go that far. I was gonna say it took some cue against Star Wars, with the the rebellion is well inspired by the rebellion in the Star Wars, but
Mhm.
they are not one to one, so to speak. It's not the same type of rebellion.
Mm. That's kind of interesting comparison too. Because you know what's funny? Like the rebellion and like the warring in Star Wars, like, with the rebellion versus the Empire. I never really thought about that as being like inherently political, even though like wars are political. It was just that like, entertaining, and I was that engrossed in the story that never once did I think about it.
I mean, uh, supposedly, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm Star Wars was inspired by the Korean War, with the Empire being the United States and rebellion being Korea. So
Mm. That's an interesting theory. Yeah, definitely let us know in the comments. I haven't heard that before. That's interesting.
I have heard it from some people that I know are Star Wars hardcores and have been it for pretty much their entire life.
Well,
So
there's only one way to confirm it. George Lucas, you've been summoned to our chat. Please comment down below. What was the inspiration for Star Wars?
but yeah, but going back to Code Geass, I was how, how should I put it? Do, do you feel like the whole idea of having a power that you could just control everyone? Um, how should I, doesn't that me? How should I put it? Could, like you said with Death Note, it felt like light were never able to lose
Mhm.
for XYZ reasons.
Mhm.
Um, do you? I know that some people think that all memory loss was somewhat of a cop out
Fair.
to try and nerf him and all
Yeah.
that jazz. What are your thoughts about it all? I'm pretty conflicted on it because well, how do you else with the exception of well somehow killing him off take care of that?
That's a good question, and, like, rewatching the first few episodes of the show, I forgot about some of the limitations of his ability. So I think it was, like, maybe the 3rd or 4th episode, Lelouch tries to, like, control somebody that he's controlled before, or give, like, 'cause we know that he can give a command, but I think it's, like, only the one command. And I think that's what kind of balances him out a little bit, because you can only control somebody once, and you can only tell them to do one thing pretty much. So, I think it reinforces just how smart Lelouch is as a character, because now he can't just like say things willy-nilly and expect everything to play out the way that he wanted. Now he has to strategically plan out, okay, I'm going to speak to person A and I'm going to tell them this thing. Okay, I've already used person A, I can't use them anymore. But whatever situation that person A created, now I have to take this opportunity so I can talk to person B and then command them to do this thing. And I think that's kind of sort of what balances him out a little bit. I feel like the way, like the ultimate balance for Lelouch would be to make him a little dumber, so that way he makes more mistakes and it's not so easy to just like manipulate everybody around him to like systematically complete whatever his goal is. But I can definitely see some people saying that, he's too OP and this power is like too crazy. Because it seems like it's limitless, but I think it's really just the way that Lelouch uses it that makes it feel like it's limitless, because he's very intentional about like the things he asks of people and the way that he uses that command.
So it's sort of like now we go all back to comics, but it's Superman's powers is done right. If going into another OP territory, if that
Mhm.
is that what you're saying?
I mean, if that's how you would like to interpret it. I've never really thought of Superman's powers being done wrong, honestly, but he is kind of a limitless character um in a lot of instances as long as there's no green rocks around.
I mean, there is a lot of people complaining that Superman is boring because he's too OP, so that's why he was the one that popped into my question as an example question for you.
Interesting. I personally never thought Superman was boring because of his powers, more so just like I felt like for a long time he was just a boring character, just like a boring person. But that's besides the point.
Hopefully, Mike is not gonna watch this video.
I mean, I've told Mike this before, and that's why I praised my adventures with Superman because I actually really liked both Clark Kent and Superman. I feel like they actually did a much better job of fleshing him out and making him like a real person. Um, but yeah, has none of those flaws. I think Lelouch is interesting, even if he didn't have powers. And briefly, um, he wasn't aware that he had powers, so it was also kinda interesting to see him, like, balance that a bit, but yeah. I guess what do you think about Lelouch's powers? Because I know you asked me, if I thought that they were OP. Do you think that they're, like, overpowered?
No, due to its limitation, it would have been overpowered. For example, if he could just watch them. How should I put it? He need to show off his eyes when he has the mask. Just that
Mhm.
to see a person directly, just to affect them. He had to fool the pilot to give off. I can't recall what the mech suits are his name are right now, but in order to get
Um,
access to that, he had to fool her to say, I'm a royal." I can't recall the name. I'm having a brain freeze, but you can check my ID, yada yada yada. And
right.
after he managed to get
Oh,
out, he
Britannian?
used the power. Yes, but just that alone doesn't make it makes it a rather limitless. It doesn't make it a limitless power. That
Right.
alone, I'd argue. I mean, just imagine if he could use his ability without having to open his mask. I mean, then you can just use it however you want.
Yeah, that is true. I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, having to make eye contact with the person, that's also really important too, to the limitation. I guess something else that I wanted to ask, because I know I talked about kind of like fleshing out some of the characters earlier. Do you feel like there was a good balance between Lelouch and the supporting cast? And what I mean by this question, just thinking about, if Lelouch wasn't on screen, or maybe it was a down episode where he's just kind of off somewhere and we're following somebody else's adventures. Like, do you think those parts of the show were just as interesting as when Lelouch is kind of like leading us? Or if Lelouch is really, I guess, like the anchor for this show and everybody else is really just supporting him?
I mean, he if if he were not in this story, it to an extent it would be a completely different story as a whole. A lot
Hmm.
of it is will he manage to go through with this? Yeah, will he not? Kennedy, which is
Right.
why the whole V from Vendetta. storyline comes into play. But if he were not involved in it, and we just had a rebellion, so to speak, in and focusing on them, then I dare argue that the Star Wars comparison would be more fitting, all things considered.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And kind of going back to my Death Note comparison, I felt like Death Note was a little bit more balanced because we had Light, who had the Death Note, and then we have Shinigami that was kind of guiding Light. So without Shinigami, he might not have like fully understood like the power that was given to him. And then there was a girl that Light was kind of involved with. I can't fully remember her name though, but they weren't really together, but she liked him. I'm sure people know who I'm talking about. I just can't remember her name. But she was also a part of the show, and, even though she wasn't, like, a major part of it, she definitely helped Light in a lot of different instances.
Are you talking about Misa?
Misa, yes, Misa. And then we also have Elle being a really strong antagonist and working with the police and pulling them into the story. I felt like there was a good balance because it was kind of like you see Light and his kind of group and the people that are supporting him. So even if Light's not like directly on screen, we know that, Shinigami's up to something that's gonna, like, help move the plan forward, or Misa's onto something that's gonna help move things forward. And, like, the same thing went for L, if L was on the screen, we knew the police were doing something plotting, trying to catch, um what was the name that he went by? I forgot. Trying to catch the murderer that was doing all these, like, heart attack kills and things like that. So, I feel like Code Geass was a little bit unbalanced in terms of that, where it really like um everything was all dependent on Light to kind of move things forward, even though we did get to know some of the other characters. So that's probably a critique that I would give it. But it was still a really fun ride to watch, so it's a very small critique.
I mean, how should I, there is alternative ending movies and all that. Yes, not alternative endings, but alternative timelines versions and movies wise, and maybe those feel like more balanced story wise. Maybe we should check those out.
Possibly, that is true. There are quite a few of them, that we were kinda looking before the recording to see just, like, I guess, how much of Code Geass there really is, and there is a lot more content than you would think. There's way, way more, and even just including the manga that Isaac mentioned earlier, which I had no idea existed, so, I'm sure well, I can't say for sure that the new series has figured out a way to kind of like balance these different characters and help them at least help like a good number of them push the story forward, but they definitely have a lot of writing and storytelling experience behind them. So I'm sure the way they approach things will be quite different when it comes to the new series. And we're in a
Um,
completely different decade too. So
I agree. I agree.
yeah, that changes
It
things a
makes
lot.
me curious about this episode. Makes me very curious about covering the other versions. Not gonna lie,
What show?
this version of Code Geass makes me interested in covering the other versions or whatever you wanna call
Oh, the
them.
other
Not gonna
version.
lie.
That would be interesting. It definitely it's been a long time. It'll be kind of interesting to jump back into it. But yeah, I guess I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about as far as Code Geass is concerned, or something that you wanted to highlight for people that have most likely seen it at this point?
Not what I can think of, honestly.
Yeah.
Not that what I can think of.
Okay. That's
But
fair.
what about you?
I would love to challenge the viewers and the people watching. Tell us some of your favorite moments about Code Geass. Of course, put a spoiler tag somewhere in there just in case somebody has not seen the show or maybe is watching the show right now to catch up to the new series that's happening. But yeah, just what have been your favorite moments about the original series? And I'd also be curious as to when you watched the original series, if you can remember, because it's really interesting the legs that this show has had with, Isaac watching it in like, I think you said 2010-ish, and then I watched it in like 2015, 2016, and so many more people are still discovering it to this day. So it's it's got to be up there as one of like I'm hesitant to say the best anime of all time because I feel like I've been moved by
It's
so many
a
more since then. But it is
it's
definitely
at least
like
a classic.
it is a classic. Yes, we can say that for sure. It is definitely a classic. But yeah, definitely let us know. And also let us know in the comments, would you guys be interested in us covering some of the Code Geass movies and also the new series? Because I'm sure we would have plenty to talk about for quite some time. So if you're interested, let us know. And also make sure to like button so that way this video gets recommended to more people like yourself, and subscribe so that way you get notifications on when the next video comes out, especially if it's related to Code Geass. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Oh, and I forgot one thing.
Hmm.
Soup store. That's I can't we can't end that thing without mentioning the meme.
Suit store. I am not
Soups.
remembering the meme.
People will know in the comments.
Everybody
Yeah.
suit store comments.
If you have watched it through there from this part, all this way here, right? I'm in the soup store, so yes, just for the sake of it.
All right, we'll see how many of you are in the suit store in the comments. But
Yeah.
yeah, this has been quite the conversation. I feel like we haven't even really dug too deep into Code Geass yet, so there's definitely a lot more that we can get to if y'all would like to see it. But in case people are interested in just knowing more about you and supporting you, Isaac, tell the people how they can do that.
Well, you can find me at Emblemaniac on X. You can find me here at Amateur Otaku Pod. You can find my work writing at the Wolf Writes. And hopefully I get my Let's Play channel started sometime soon. It's been quite delayed, but it's a
Mm,
lot when you want to start with your first LP and all that. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. It's a lot of growing pains, but you will love it, I'm sure. Isaac's been talking about this for quite some time, so everybody stay tuned, and we'll let you know when that's live so y'all can go support. But yeah, as for me, you guys can find me here on the Amateur Otaku, of course, and over at Swiper_Prime on both Twitch and YouTube, where it's all about gaming over there. On the YouTube side of things, I've been playing through Ocarina of Time. I'm actually one dungeon away from beating the game, so it has been a wild ride there. And then I am actually only a couple chapters away from beating Final Fantasy VII over on the Twitch channel. So either way, we're about to get some trophies. We're about to see some end credits here soon. So yeah, be sure to check those out.
The question is that you need to check out, did she get the date with Tifa or not?
Oh,
Yeah, no
Isaac,
spoil, no
Isaac,
spoil,
Isaac.
no spoil. That was a
I
big.
haven't got there yet. I am 25% away from finishing chapter 11, and then I will be on to chapter 12. I think
Okay.
I think I got it, but there's only one way to know. Y'all have to check it out. Check out the channel.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah, I need to. Just that alone makes it worth following along. Will she get a date with Tifa?
will I get the kiss with Tifa? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But with that said, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, as Jamie mentioned. Have it good, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for watching, and keep watching anime and reading manga. See ya.
Exactly. Hey there.